Welcome to the story of the Tudors, a tale of ambition, blood, betrayal, and brilliance that reshaped a kingdom and echoed through centuries. Our story begins not with peace, but with pandemonium, a time when the English crown was less a symbol of order and more a cursed relic passed from head to bleeding head. It is the 15th century. England is weary. A century of plagues, famines, and the 100 Years' War has left the land brittle. And now, its very heart, the monarchy, is up for grabs. The royal bloodline, tangled and fraying, has turned in on itself. The House of Lancaster and the House of York, both descendants of Edward III, now face each other across a battlefield of paranoia and ambition. This is a war not just of swords, but of symbols. The white rose of York, the red rose of Lancaster, and beneath their petals lies England, bleeding. In this war, loyalty is a coin quickly spent. Betrayal is as common as bread, and the line between hero and villain as thin as a blade. Welcome to the Wars of the Roses. In the twilight of England's medieval dream, two branches of one royal tree tangled their roots in ambition and scheme. The House of Lancaster, red as wrath, and York, white as winter's path. Both sons of Edward, both proud, both bold, both hungry for England's glittering gold. It begins, as these things often do, with too many heirs and not enough chairs. Edward III, a mighty warrior king, left behind a legacy of conquest and a tangle of sons. From these branches sprouted rival claims, and from those claims the kingdom's ruin. Edward's grandson, Richard II, ruled with pomp and poetry, but lost the throne to Henry Bolingbroke, who became Henry IV, a usurpation masked as salvation. But such things echo. The Lancastrian crown was never quite secure. Henry V, warrior of Agincourt, brought glory, briefly, but his death passed the throne to an infant son, and that son, Henry VI, brought the kingdom not triumph, but trembling. Crowned a baby, ruled as a ghost, he spoke softly, prayed often, and trusted too much. A king more suited to cloisters than councils, more monk than monarch. To his court he brought not justice, but silence. While his mind wandered, power gathered in darker corners. England under Henry became a kingdom without a captain. Nobles schemed, factions grew, and the realm split along old scars. And where there's a vacuum, ambition rushes in. Enter Margaret, Queen, French, formidable. She was no passive consort. She led armies, forged alliances, and dared to rule where her husband could not. To some, she was a heroine. To others, a she-wolf. But none could doubt her fire. Opposing her, Richard, Duke of York, great-grandson of Edward III, seasoned soldier, tireless agitator. He claimed he wanted reform, but with enough support, reform often looks suspiciously like ambition. York's ambition grew with England's silence. Twice he ruled as protector, when Henry's crown slipped into shadow and the kingdom begged for order. At first, he spoke of loyalty, of duty, of reform, but power borrowed breeds hunger. And York, great-grandson of a king, saw not just a realm in crisis, but a crown within reach. He claimed descent more rightful than the king's own son, and when Parliament met in fear and fracture, he forced their hand. An act of accord, bold, unnatural, naming York heir, and disinheriting the prince. But Margaret would not yield. She fled north, calling banners and vengeance. The red rose gathered thorns, and York rode out to meet the storm. Yet he was not alone in ambition. Behind him stood a shadow with a sword. Richard Neville, Earl of Warwick, Master of Calais, Scourge of the Channel, a noble with coin, command, and cunning. He raised fleets, forged pacts, turned piracy into popularity, and draped himself in the cause of York. To the people, he was their champion. To his foes, a whispering storm. Together they struck at Northampton, tore down the gates, and took the king. And York, emboldened, reached for the crown. But it was Warwick who held the streets. Then came winter and Wakefield. York rode north to break the Queen's defence, but found not a fight, a slaughter. Outnumbered, surrounded, York fell, his son beside him. A crown of paper mocked him on a pike, set high on the gates of the city that bore his name. Warwick held London, but York's line now looked to another, a younger lion, fierce and unbroken. The father was gone, the king unmade, but the storm had only just begun. And in the storm's eye stood Warwick, no longer just a noble, but a force, the puppet master, the rainmaker, the man who could raise kings with a whisper and ruin them with a nod. He played politics like a bard plays lute, deftly and often for coin. Old grudges flared, family feuds turned fatal. What began as whispers in court became roars on battlefields. The kingdom had cracked, and as blades were drawn, the roses were picked, not for gardens, but for war. A nation divided, not by border or creed, but by bloodlines and banners and galloping greed. The seeds of ruin, long ago sown, now bloomed in steel and moaned in stone. The storm was here, and it would rage for decades.